think we knew before we got married, we knew that we weren't gonna be in an apartment home. You know, we knew we had that in our mindset. We moved into an apartment together, and that was my very first experience. Not her first experience, but my first experience of living with someone other than a family member.
Yeah, there you go. Right.
So, but to have like we talked about earlier, the conversations changed, and now we're sitting here talking about, you know, what's our timeline, how long we want to stay in an apartment, and then the sacrifices that need to be made in order to get the home
that you want.
Right. Or for those, you know, some people do believe in starter homes. There are some people who don't. They say, you know what, my first home is my forever home. And I was in that mindset too, but my wife has got me to think, you know, what happens when your family grows?
Yeah.
There you go.
Or your job.
You grow. In life, professionally, and everything else.
Right.
Personally.
And then you think about like me and Mike were talking about earlier today, man, you know, about, you know, your profession.
Yeah.
How you sometimes you have to tip your hat and go another direction, right? So when you do that, that may take you out of your neighborhood, your community. Now you got to think about, you know, travel. You know, that plays a role. So I'm learning all of that. You know, I'm learning all of that as I go, man. So when you have that conversation with your wife, man, about, you know, how long we want to stay in an apartment, and then also being mindful of, you know, situations do happen to where your timeline, let's say, you know, as an example, you know, we're going to stay in this apartment 2 years. What happens when you get to 2 years? You know, you may have lost a job, God forbid, or, you know, may have gotten, you know, demoted and not promoted. Right. That kind of thing. All that stuff plays a role. Like you have in your mindset, your projection, right? But, you know, things happen, life happens, and how do you adapt to that? You know, and if you're really in it together, then you'll find another way around it.
And I think, you know, when it comes down to how long is too long, it's more of a question. That's a question that should be answered between, you know, yourself and your spouse, or, you know, the individuals in it, and not a question to be answered by society, your family, friends, or everyone else, because it really does determine. I mean, it does depend on your individual timeline and your individual objectives and what you guys want, you know, as a collective, as a unit. So I don't think there's a real answer to that. I think, you know, you have to look within amongst yourselves individually as a couple, and determine that. And that's what, you know, me and mine did. And there are some physical components that, you know, when we talk chronologically, that do factor into it, because, you know, Mark mentioned like a time clock. There really is a biological time clock, and things where, you know, there's a lot of research and data that supports, you know, prolonging or procrastinating. If children is something that you want to do, and of course, if you want to go the traditional route, you know, marriage would need to come before that. So of course, there are some things that are plotted, you know, from a sequential standpoint on that timeline, that will, you know, I mean, that I guess objectively speaking would determine how long too long may be for you as an individual. But again, that's still something that, you know, should be answered amongst, you know, yourselves, and you know, so I think objectively there really there is an answer to how long is too long if you're looking at it from, you know, a biological standpoint. But outside of that, it really is a question more or less, you know, for the couple and the individuals, and not for anyone else to necessarily answer, although that's how society, you know, pits it, you know, for a lot of people.